Thank you for joining us today. We'll get started in 2 to 3 minutes. We just want to make sure everyone has enough time to sign in. So thank you for joining and stay tuned. Good morning. I'm Carly Vickers, and welcome to today's webinar on addressable geofencing for senior living marketers. Superpower your direct mail lists. We have a few brief housekeeping items to cover before getting started. Today's webinar includes a live Q&A portion. To submit questions, just click on the Q&A button at the bottom of your screen, and our host will answer your question before we conclude the webinar. You can also communicate with other webinar participants by using the chat feature at the bottom of your screen. If you'd like a copy of today's addressable geofencing slide deck, just email us with a request at bobby@canopyadco.com. Finally, a link to watch today's recorded version of the webinar will be emailed to you next week. I'd now like to introduce Bobby Youngs. Bobby is today's presenter and is the founder of Canopy, an advertising technology company with deep roots in the senior living industry. Thank you for participating.
Hello, everyone. Bobby Youngs here, founder of Canopy Advertising. Just a little bit about myself. I founded Canopy Advertising a little over 4 years here in Charlotte, North Carolina. I've been working in the marketing advertising business for, I guess, over 25 years now. Yes, there was a time I was selling advertising in the yellow pages before the actual internet or Google. So I remember what the original search engine was like in the yellow pages. And the reason I founded Canopy was really out of a sense of mission. I was working for some large media companies, selling digital advertising products. And one of the things that I found frustrating is we were really good at selling the products, but there was a high margin, meaning that when a client would give us their advertising budget, sometimes 50 to 75% of that ad budget would just go to the media companies at profit, and it would really water down campaigns. And it just really messed up campaigns for clients. It didn't work very well. And that was troubling. And then also one of the things that makes a digital advertising campaign work well is, the campaign optimization, managing the campaign, making sure it's effective in a real live environment. And the media companies just didn't invest in campaign managers. So my goal with starting Canopy was to kind of flip that around, have a real low margin opportunity for clients with lots of account management and optimization. So that's our goal, and we've been really happy about that over the last 4 years. It's been somewhat of a happy accident to have so many clients currently in the senior living space. Over 4 years ago, we started out with one continuing care retirement community here in Charlotte, North Carolina. Through word of mouth, that relationship and the success we've had there has spread to other communities around the country. And we have discovered how some of the technology solutions that we're going to show you today really work well in this space, and why that is so. So let's just jump in right in. So today we want to talk about addressable geofencing. Now, one of the things that, without the risk of being Captain Obvious here, one of the challenges and opportunities that exist for senior living marketing directors is what can be a kind of a long consideration phase for their clients. For independent living, especially, people can take 6 months to a year and a half before making a decision. And you consider how many times those prospects will visit your website or your community or your competitors' communities before they actually ever make a decision for themselves. In the assisted living and memory care space, sometimes that decision making time, that research and consideration phase can be a lot quicker. Sometimes, a month to 3 or 4 months. But this is what's called a highly considered purchase, right? People really, this is a big decision they're going to make in their life, and they haven't made this decision a ton of times. It's going to be the first time to make such a decision of what community they'd like to live in, or what's going to be the best for their parents or their loved ones. So they're going to spend a lot of time researching and considering their choice. And so that can be frustrating for senior living marketers because, they're going to look at a lot of competitors and they're going to spend a lot of time online. But someone in digital marketing like myself finds that exciting because that gives us a real opportunity to pick up on those digital breadcrumbs, those signals that prospects leave online as they do research for your services. There was a time maybe 6 or 7, even 8 years ago, when digital marketing was not as powerful in this space because, quite frankly, your prospects, the age of your prospects, they just weren't spending that much time online. And that has certainly changed. I had a really interesting experience last year. I have a client in another industry who invited me to a Yanni concert of all things. And, I'll confess, I'm not a huge Yanni fan, and that might be surprising. But he's a wonderful client, and we were honored to be able to go to the concert with him. And you would be maybe not so surprised what the demographic of a Yanni concert is. It is definitely your prospects and your future residents for sure. And what's amazing is the groupiness of this audience. They had T-shirts on, they were screaming for Yanni. It was fantastic. But what was really surprising to me is they all had their cell phones out. It was like being at a young person's concert. I mean, they all had their cell phones out. They were recording things. The lady in front of me must have been 85 years old, and her home screen, her lock screen on her cell phone was a picture of Yanni. So our generation, our prospects that we're looking to market are definitely spending time online. They are tech savvy, and they are so much easier now to reach than they ever were before. So thinking about this research and consideration phase and how long this can be a great opportunity for marketers because we can get a lot of ad impressions in front of your potential prospects and influence them to visit your website and your community over that period of time. Now, we're all familiar with direct mail. We love direct mail. We've worked with lots of clients who run direct mail. As a matter of fact, we've worked with actual direct mail companies who sell to this industry and run digital marketing campaigns in conjunction with their direct mail campaigns. One of the neat things about that is that the digital side of things allows you to track some of the effects of direct mail in a really interesting way. And we can get to that a little bit later in the Q&A, but that's a really interesting correlation. But the great thing about direct mail is that you're able to target specific prospects in your market area based on income level, as you well know, family ties, being able to reach out to not only the prospects, but the prospects' adult caregivers and family members that might live in the market or outside the market, based on demographics, age range, net worth, income, all those things that are really important to you to kind of somewhat pre-qualify, if you will, which audience you're targeting in your primary market area. And so anybody in this call that's in this space has probably bought a list at some time, or even may have a list out of their CRM system in their marketing department, their sales department, that they want to target. And that's what addressable geofencing can do. But first, I want to talk about geofencing a little bit because some of you might not be familiar with what geofencing is, and it's good to kind of get an idea of how this technology works. You've probably heard this at maybe a Smash conference or a Leading Edge, or you've had digital marketing agencies call you about geofencing. It's really a pretty cool technology. It really has picked up speed over the last 3, 4, 5 years. I think it kind of came on the scene, I would say, just about 8 years ago. Geofencing technology happened, and it's gotten quite sophisticated. But basically, how geofencing works is this. Geofencing is simply the act of drawing a virtual geofence, like you can see on the screen here on the left. We literally open up a Google Maps. Any area that we can see in a Google map, we can geofence. The geofence can be as small as a backyard or a house. And we tend to go as big as a city block or like a stadium. Once you get larger than that, there's other technologies we can use that are probably more effective. But that's kind of the sizes we use when we draw a geofence. And geofences can be a 16-point polygon, so we can carve that geofence around different areas. We hand draw most of the geofences that we do outside of addressable geofencing, and I'll explain the difference there. And we make sure that the geofences stay off roads or other buildings or areas that are not of interest to you, right? Geofences typically have about a 3-foot accuracy rate as far as the geofence itself is drawn. And then if there's any discrepancies, it's usually in cell phones. Cell phones are about 16 feet of accuracy with their GPS coordinates, right? So we draw the geofence, and we can draw as many geofences as we need for our clients. And then that geofence, what it does is it creates a file of all the GPS or the latitude, longitude coordinates that exist inside that polygon, right? And so now that data is stored, and then anytime a mobile device like a cell phone or a laptop asks for an ad from, like, if it's on an app like Wall Street Journal or ESPN.com, or if you're playing Candy Crush, there's ads, right? And anytime your mobile device asks for an ad from the ad server, in that ask is the GPS coordinates or the location coordinates of the phone. So our platform reads billions and billions of those ad calls from devices, and anytime it sees a device that has GPS coordinates that match one of the geofences that we've created for you, we then can serve ads to that device. And the nice thing is not only can we serve ads to that device in that instant when they're in the fence, but now that we've realized that phone was in the fence at a particular time, we can capture that phone and then serve ads to that anytime, even after it leaves the fence, for up to 30 days. So we use the geofences as kind of a net, if you will. Say anybody that's in this area, this is going to be people that we're really interested in targeting ads to, right? And now we can target them at any time. Later on, when they go home, and they're sitting in their bed at night before they go to bed, checking their phone or looking at an app, we can then serve them ads. Okay. Now, addressable geofencing is a little different in that we actually can upload your single family dwelling unit address records, right? So you've already probably purchased a direct mail list. Hopefully you can actually get the address records from the direct mail company directly to you. You may have a list of that's in your CRM system of potential clients and customers and their home addresses. We take those home addresses, we filter them down to address line 1, so we can't target PO boxes or apartment complexes. And then we load that into the system, and the system will draw the geofences for us along the property lines of all the addresses. So it only targets the houses that are in your address list. And so now we can capture all the devices inside those home addresses. Every device that enters that, like it's a cell phone, it's a laptop, we can target them. As a matter of fact, not only that, we can use addressable geofencing to target desktop devices. And even if your community is running television commercials in your market, we can even serve TV ads to over-the-top full-size HDD TVs that are hanging on people's walls, right? So that's not through the cable system, but that would be through over-the-top systems like YouTube or Netflix or Hulu, where people have commercials, which is pretty interesting. And the nice thing about that is we have the ability, with direct mail, you might send 1, potentially 2 postcards a month. Sometimes people send 1 every quarter. With addressable geofencing, now that we've captured those devices, we can serve really as many ad impressions to those devices as we like. We typically, best practice we found is somewhere around 40 to 60 ad impressions per address. Some clients, depending on the length of their campaign, go up to 120 to 160 ad impressions per address for shorter campaigns where they need to make a really big impact fast. right? Most of our clients in this space run campaigns all year long. And so we typically will suggest, 40 ad impressions per address is really kind of a sweet spot. Now, the nice thing about addressable geofencing is that we're able to, since it's online, we're able to track several types of conversions, right? Because we want to make sure it works really well, right? We got to, what are the results? That's really important. And because we're serving a display ad to those devices and people click on those ads, they visit your website or a Facebook page or a social media page, or maybe a conversion page you set up for this campaign. It can be any website. Then we're able to track phone calls that are generated specifically from this tactic or form fills. So we put UTM codes on all the ads, and we see those coming through Google Analytics, and we're able to report to you specifically the traffic and how it behaves on your website, and if it produces a form fill or a phone call that came through that tactic specifically. We can even report down to the zip+4 level where geographically those conversions are coming from. Because of privacy issues, we can't get down to the exact address level, unfortunately. We'd love to be able to do that, but we have PII issues in the digital marketing world, and so zip+4 is kind of tight. We can get on specifically down to a device level. The third way we can track conversions, which is really unique and very interesting for addressable geofencing, or really any geofencing technology, is actually creating a conversion zone. Okay, so this is literally just creating another geofence around the destination, if you will, for the campaign, which typically would be your community, where people come and visit. Not the entire community, but maybe the admin building or wherever the people that are visiting your business building for the first time. We'll draw a geofence around that space, and we're actually able to measure all the devices that we're targeting, from all those geofences, which devices actually physically visit your community. And so from that, you can get kind of a physical conversion rate, right? We really turned this off during COVID. This kind of tactic wasn't very good. We were really looking at online. We were promoting a lot of webinars and virtual tours, which were very successful. But now we're starting to see people visit communities again. Their doors are opening up again, and we're seeing a lot of our communities look back again at their physical conversion zones and tracking those. One really kind of interesting idea, we haven't had a chance to do this, but I've always wanted to find a community that would like to do this. One interesting thing you could do with those conversion zones is you don't have to have just one conversion zone. So your community can have a specific zone on it, but you could also put a conversion zone on all the competitive communities in your area. And then you could track the devices that go not only visit you, but also visit all your competitors in the area. And you could get a sense throughout the marketing year, kind of a trend. You could do a pie chart every month of what percentage of physical conversions are happening at my community versus my competitors. And that would be a really interesting way to look at the effectiveness of your marketing campaign in your area. Are you starting to see an increase of people visiting you over time versus your competitors in the area? Also kind of keep an eye on your competitors too, which is always kind of nice. Now, we take here at Canopy this a step farther. Since we're already capturing devices, we can capture mobile device IDs from those devices, right? So everybody's cell phone is basically just a little advertising medium that we walk around in our pocket with. And there's a lot of things, IDs and tracking systems and location tracking that exists on that phone that allows sneaky advertisers like us to find the phone and target you based on your behavior and where you go, what things you look at. So one of the things we can do is pull out the mobile device IDs from all those addresses and all those Geofences that we've created from your direct mail list, okay? And not only that, we get not only the people that are in your direct mail list, but like friends and family that come over as well. And we take those mobile device IDs and we can load them into social media channels like Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn, if you like. And Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn, those social media channels will actually attempt to match those mobile device IDs to their relative social media accounts. And there's about a 40% match rate. So if we captured 1,000 mobile device IDs from those addressable geofences, we would expect that Facebook could find 400 accounts that are associated specifically with those phones. And then we can run a social media campaign against those devices. So now we have the direct mail piece that's going out. We're also now targeting them through their mobile devices, through addressable geofencing, through traditional display networks and apps. And now also that same list, we're also able to match that up to their social media accounts and target it in that way as well. So it's kind of 3 different ways that we're able to target people. Now, so when you think back to that long research and consideration phase that your prospects and their family members are going through, your direct mail list can really be amplified. Again, we have direct mail, of course. You have addressable geofencing, where we can layer in a digital version of direct mail right on top of that direct mail campaign. You remember how I mentioned those conversion zones where we can measure the mobile devices that we saw in the addressable geofencing campaign if they visit your community. You can also get a sense of, you can also set up a conversion zone just to measure, once you run a direct mail campaign, do you see an increase in foot traffic each month to your location? So it's a way to get some metrics on, are we seeing some physical visits now as an increase in that when we ran a direct mail campaign. Social media is now reaching through social media. Social media is a great way in this space to reach people. They are, in this kind of leisure time, they're spending more time, and now your ads are feeding into their news feeds. So it's a wonderful way to kind of, they see a direct mail card in the mail, we're targeting them on display networks, we're also seeing them, they're also seeing your ads and your messaging on social media. Social media also opens up some tremendous opportunities to serve different kinds of creative, such as video, slideshows, surveys, those kinds of things are really good. And so there's no extra cost for different kinds of creative on social media for sure. Now, at Canopy, it's really kind of easy to work with us. What we try to do, if you have any interest in seeing if this would be a good fit for you and your community, we'd like to just set up a discovery call with you. And what we'll do is just ask you a few questions, find out about your community, what your primary market area is, kind of the radius in which you target, if there's particular zip codes you're interested in more than others, kind of get a profile of your prospects, who's qualified for your community and the types of people you're looking for. And then what we'll do is our team, we have a research team that will actually go and pull all the data that matches those metrics for you in your marketplace. And we'll build a proposal based on the potential market. And so we'll look at if there are 5,000 potential records in your marketplace, we'll build out the number of impressions we recommend that you would need for that, what the rate is per 1,000 of impressions, put together really a full digital marketing proposal based on this for you. One of the nice things about working with Canopy is that we're very flexible. Our team really believes that we want to be just an extension of your marketing department. We don't require a minimum spend or a minimum contract length to work with Canopy. We're going to show you what the potential marketplace would bear for you, and then you can decide, how much that pie, how big of a slice of that pie you want to take on with your budget. You can start and stop any time. We just really believe in being flexible and being a part of your team. It's really important to us in here in Canopy. With that, I wanted to mention one other thing that we really have seen a lot of success in with addressable geofencing lately since COVID. With every crisis, there's an opportunity, right? Well, one of the big opportunities that we've seen with this particular tactic is in the world of recruiting. So in the senior living space, we've had a lot of clients who have reached out to us because they're looking for healthcare staff, maybe food services staff as well. And with healthcare staff in particular, we're actually able to purchase records of licensed professionals. So like CNAs, RNs, medical assistants, LPNs, and we can buy those home address records of those individuals in your market area. Sometimes we look at like driving distance, like you might see here, and this is near Philadelphia. They were looking for like a 40-minute commute at most. And then we can kind of figure out what the radius would be or zip codes that are relative to that. And then we buy the records and we can then target recruiting ads specifically to those home addresses. And that's been super effective. We've been really pleasantly surprised over the last couple of years now how often we've had the opportunity to do a recruiting campaign for a community and help them find really qualified staff, really focus their advertising specifically on people that are licensed to work for them. Now, without any further ado, I'm going to move over to the Q&A section here and see if we have any questions coming up from today. There's a little Q&A icon at the bottom of your screen. If you want to ask any questions, you can just type them right in. See what we got here. Okay, so see if I'm targeting my competitors, how will I know if I'm identifying actual prospects and not just the staff and the residents who are already there? That's a great question. So um, it's a good point. When we do a geofence, a lot of times it is we're capturing any device the system sees, any device that sends an ad call to the ad networks. We're capturing that device. Now we have thought about that over the last few years, and we've thought, well, in some instances, it's really important that we really focus just on the devices that are visiting the community who don't come there very often, right? And try to exclude devices that are there all the time, like a resident or employee, because we don't think we're going to influence them as much. So we have technology that allows us to pull those mobile device IDs, discover the home address of that mobile device ID, where that device most likely lives, right? Because they're there from midnight to 6 a.m., 6 to 7 days a week, and it's a residence. We assume that's it, and then we can associate that home address consumer records to that mobile device ID. And from there, we were able to kind of ascertain some things. We can see things like age range, education level, income level, things like that. And also how often that particular device has visited that location, right? So we can pull devices that are in the primary market area who may have only visited that community 1 to 3 times, right? And so that helps us kind of isolate down and try to avoid the residents and the staff. Now, obviously, there's going to be a lot of family members who come and visit, people like that as well, but we want to try to influence them as well for your community. So that's a really good question. Okay, so I have a question here. What is the average spend in any given market for most effective campaign? Great question. So the way we come up with a budget that we recommend is we look at the total number of records that match the criteria for the community. Most communities we work with, or all of them, when I'm talking to a marketing director, will tell me, I want this age range, I want this household income level, I want this net worth, etc. Well, we buy the amount of records that we can match that to for the area, and then we figure out how many impressions per address that we have. So typically it's about 40, and then we multiply that by our cost per 1,000 of ads, right? So that gives us our budget that we recommend, right? And then the community can say, that's great, we'll go with that. Or they can say, well, we can only afford to do about 50% of that or 25% or whatever it might be, which is totally fine. Now, I would say that we have really 2 different spend levels. So our independent living or CCRC clients for addressable geofencing will probably spend anywhere between $3,000 and $10,000 a month on a digital marketing budget, and that will include addressable geofencing, right? That's got some pay-per-click and some things like that in there as well. For our communities that are specifically assisted living and memory care only, we see budgets that are closer to $1,000 to $2,500 range for that, right? And we will focus. We'll do a lot of addressable geofencing with them, but we'll also include some other tactics that are lower in the funnel, if you will, the sales funnel for assisted living and memory care, because the decision-making time is a little bit faster. Sometimes, a couple months to 3 or 4 months in that. But for independent living, they really want to think more broadly about the marketing. They have a long-term vision. They know they got to reach people now who might not make the decision for a year and a half from now. And so they're going to put a lot more into that to get those type of clients. Hope that answered the question. If I didn't, feel free to update the chat and I'll get that in there. Okay, so how much does it cost? I think I answered that. Okay, are there any privacy issues that I should be aware of? That's a great question. So we do a lot to protect what's called PII in our industry, personal identifiable information. So we do see mobile devices and cell phones, and we can track them in the aggregate from one place to another, but we really can't see a specific device. So as I mentioned, I can't report on anything that's a smaller amount of detail than like a zip +4 level. That protects people. I can't see if someone at 123 Main Street goes from one place to another. That would get too close to personal identifiable information. I don't see anybody's names on the devices. I can only get demographic information that's associated with their household and that protect. And so any individual device I see in the house, it's just household information that's associated where we believe that phone lives. So everyone is protected. Also at Canopy, we're HIPAA compliant with all our tracking as far as phone calls and form fills and things like that for this industry. So there's no private information that any of our clients have to worry about getting out there into the marketplace. Okay, see what else we got question wise. Okay. Okay, so great question. So would this program complement what we are currently spending on digital or a whole separate strategy? So if we're already spending, say, $3,500 on digital, how does this work with what we're currently doing? I think that this could be both, right? So addressable geofencing won't interfere with any other campaign you're running. Like for example, if you're running a pay-per-click campaign with one company or yourself, you wouldn't hire another company to run a pay-per-click campaign. That would, Google doesn't like that, and they would interfere with each other, right? It could actually hurt each other. But this type of display advertising can work with any digital marketing campaign. It won't interfere with anything you're currently running. It can be a standalone campaign. So we have lots of clients who run one tactic with us, where we're just handling just their addressable geofencing for them. They have other vendors that might be running pay-per-click or SEO or website design or their direct mail, of course. And we just do the addressable geofencing part. So it certainly can stand alone. You can have creatives, again, the ads that we're serving, both on social media and through addressable geofencing can be unique to the campaign. We can also make sure they work in concert with your other campaigns you're running. With geofencing, you can actually have unique creatives for, theoretically, for every geofence could have its own creatives that you're serving, right? So if you have some ads that are serving homes, you could have one kind of creative running. If you have ads that are running against competitors, you can have a different ad running potentially. And like, let's say you're targeting private golf courses in the area, you could have ads that have a creative look and feel to them that would be attractive to somebody who likes playing golf, that sort of thing. So it certainly can run in conjunction, and it can have its own budget, of course. Hope that answers that question. Let's see. Scrolling through, let's see. So how long does it take to set up an addressable geofencing or geofencing campaign? So it's pretty quick, as a matter of fact. We can, once we have the assets we need, which would be an address list, the destination URL, where you want us to actually send the clicks when we generate those. And then we'll send you a little pixel if you'd like, where we can track phone calls and form fills for you as well, if you're interested in that. Once we have that information in place, the last thing we need is the actual ads themselves. Many of our clients have a marketing team, a graphic designer. They send us the ads. We send out the ad specs for that. They'll send us the ads, and that's great. If you don't have that, we have graphic designers that can help you create the ads as well, based on best practices and what we've seen. And once those are approved, we typically can be live within 72 hours. So it takes about just a couple of days to get up and live for you as well. Any other questions I can answer about? I can get really nerdy about this stuff if anybody wants to know how we track people and all the information and things like that too. I'm happy to share that. All right, it looks like that's about it. I hope everybody got something out of this. Again, my name is Bobby Youngs. I'm the founder here at Canopy. We'd love to talk to you, and we want to be a good partner with you and exist as a part of your team and your marketing efforts. We pride ourselves on our account relationships. Our clients have been with us for years and years. That's really important to us. And if we can help answer more questions more specifically about your community and put together a custom proposal for you, we'd love to have the opportunity to do that. Here's some easy ways to reach me. You can go to our website at canopyadco.com. You'll find ways to reach us on our contact page. I have a Calendly link here as well. If you want to, you can simply open up my calendar and set up a discovery call. It's about 30 minutes long, and we can go longer if you need it, but it usually takes about 30 minutes. Feel free to pop an appointment there in my calendar anytime, or you reach out to me directly at my email address. It's bobby@canopyadco.com. And again, Thank you very much. It's been a real pleasure to meet everybody today, and I hope you got a lot out of this, and look forward to talking to you further. Thanks so much.